Welcome to Coaching Confidence. My name's David Birtwistle, for you guys don't know, and this is a Q&A style podcast all about how you can get the most out of life. We're basically talking about a whole different bunch of topics, right? So we could be going through relationships, mentality, mindset, fitness, training, nutrition, masculinity, all of those things. The whole point of this podcast, this Q&A, is to give you guys the opportunity to have your questions answered. It is an open forum, really, because I'm not here to tell you everything. Like, I am qualified as a personal trainer. I did a strength and conditioning degree from St Mary's University in London, and so anything to do with training and nutrition, I'm 100% academically qualified to give you advice about. When it comes to the mindset stuff, when it comes to mentality, when it comes to insecurities, weaknesses, when it comes to all of those things, I'm talking about everything from a personal experience perspective. I'm just giving you like my beliefs, my thoughts on it. I'm not here to give you advice in like the most clinical setting. So that's kind of what this situation is. In terms of the format, like I said, this is a Q&A. So you might be listening to this on Instagram live right now, or you might be watching this on YouTube, or you might be listening to this as a podcast. There are multiple ways in which you can get involved with the Coaching Confidence way of doing things. And it's really exciting. This is the second one. We had one a couple of weeks ago, and I'm really excited to kind of get into the nitty gritty. We've got quite a lot of good things to talk about today. If you are listening to this on a podcast, or if you are watching this on YouTube, and you want your questions answered, the easiest way of doing that is simply to follow me on Instagram. It's at david.birtwistle. And then a day before this goes live, and I usually film on a Thursday, I'll put up a question box on my story, and you can fire your questions in. Like, it's literally that simple. Just follow me, just check the story a day before the live goes out, and then you can have your questions answered live on Instagram, and then they can be there to you to get the answers and everything. It's like, this is an interactive thing. I want you guys to be involved with this as much as I am. Like I said, I'm not here to give you guys all the answers. This is merely just a platform and an opportunity for us to open a dialogue about things, because I feel like there's so much just shit on social media. There's so much crap. It's one of those things that, like, I recently was scrolling through, and I was like genuinely reading people's captions and looking at the pictures or the videos that accompanied those captions. And honest to God, I swear, like, half of the captions, half of the things that people are posting, it's just nothing. It's just not things that you'd ever say in real life. You know, it's not proper ways of structuring sentences, and it's not like, there's no real meaning. And so, like, recently when I've been posting my content on Instagram especially, there's always meaning, there's always something, there's a message. I'm trying to give you guys value, I'm trying to give you a piece of information that's either going to make your life better, make it easier, give you something that's going to be beneficial. And this platform is just another extension of that. It's for you guys to engage with me in a much easier way, and for us to kind of have a two-way dialogue, and really so you guys get the most out of this, because I'm here just to try and like open a conversation, especially about certain topics which might be a little bit harder for people to discuss. Like, I'm trying to become more open as an individual. I'm trying to share my vulnerabilities and weaknesses with you guys. It's almost like a way for me to work through them myself. You know, I was really I didn't want to be seen as weak when I was growing up. I'll be honest, like, I really struggled with showing weakness, with showing vulnerability, and I know that, like, as men, we're really bad at doing that. So this is just kind of like an opportunity for all of us to work together. So with that in mind, I want to start things off with a little bit of a discussion about something I posted earlier today. So on my story earlier today, I just posted a little video, and it basically was just me kind of saying, hey guys, hope you have a great day. Try and like embrace everything with positivity, and like the way you look out onto the world, if you're positive, then it will be positive back to you. Whereas if you have a negative attitude, then often that will, you'll get that back. And I got a bit of a mixed reaction, and majority was really positive. Like, got a lot of messages saying thanks, like really need to hear that. But a couple of people mentioned that actually that might be me playing down the significance of mental health, and it might have been me kind of just telling people, oh well, if you're down, just feel positive, you know, and kind of making a blasé comment about that. And I kind of wanted to address that because, like I said, everything that I put out, all the content that I put out is there to kind of give you guys benefit, and some of it will be beneficial to certain people, some of it will be really specific to another group of people. It's not going to apply to everyone. And the message that I put out today, it was by no means to try and generalize mental health. It wasn't by any means trying to just say, oh, if you're feeling bad, well, just feel better. Because we all know that doesn't happen. Like, if we are feeling bad, we have to process that. We have to go through a journey to get to the other side to feel better. The people that were for is the people that are just kind of going through life and they're kind of neutral, you know? They might just be like a little bit grumpy, but they're not actually working through a mental health issue, or they've not actually got depression or anxiety, you know, not that kind of far end of the scale. It was really for just those people that are in the middle, that are kind of just coasting through life, that, you know, they'll go into Starbucks and they'll be on their phone and they won't look at the barista, and they'll just order their coffee, and then that's it. My mentality is, if you're going into Costa or Starbucks and you're on the phone and you're ordering a coffee, look up, say to this person, hey, how's it going? Like, how's your day? That person is then gonna receive that positivity that you have just given to them, and then more than likely, they're gonna give it back. They're gonna smile, it's gonna make them happy. It's something like that. That's what I mean by going out into the world with a positive attitude. For me, it's not a case of, oh, if you feel shit, just feel better, because that doesn't work. We all know that when you've got some stuff going on in your life, you need to work through that, you need to process it, otherwise you're never gonna actually get to the end. It's gonna cause an effect that you don't have the capacity to deal with, and then, you know, later down the line, there's gonna be a problem. So yeah, I think like, that's where I'm coming from with my message this morning. You know, if it did cause you any pain or any issue, then I'm really sorry about that. But like I said, there's going to be messages which are applicable to certain people, not to everyone. And when it comes to this kind of positivity, mindset, mentality, psychology elements that I'll talk about, I'm really just here to try and give you an uplifting time. You know, I want to be a light of positivity, but also allow you the opportunity to talk about things which matter, and for me to hopefully share with you guys and open up with you guys, which will give you the opportunity to maybe talk to your friends, to talk to your parents, to like discuss something which has been painful to you. I'm not a trained psychologist. I'm going to be 100% clear. The information I give you with this stuff it's really there for, you know, you to question things. I'm not here to give you the answers, except for training and nutrition. I am 100% qualified to give you the answers for that. But when it comes to other stuff, I want you to just think, ask questions, for you to then ask questions to yourself. Now, boom, we've got through that, and we've got some questions that are coming today. So we're going to jump in, we're going to start answering some questions straight away. Okay, so first question we've got here. It says, in the mornings, are you a jump straight out of bed guy or hit the snooze button? I think this all comes down to your attitude, right? And what you've got going on that day. Now, when I was working at F45, when I had PT clients every morning at 6 a.m, I would be setting that alarm as late as possible. I would be waiting until the absolute last second to have that alarm. I don't want to be waking up and then hitting snooze and then waking up and then hitting snooze. I want to get good quality sleep. So what I do is I'd set my alarm as late as I could, so that I know that as soon as that alarm goes up, I've had as much sleep as I possibly can. I'll hit that button, turn it off, and I'll jump straight out of bed. Now the difference is that was at like 5:30 in the morning. I didn't have an opportunity to hit the snooze button. I had to get up. I had to start getting on with the day because it's an early start for me. Now it's slightly different. Now I'm not working at F45. Now I'm in a fortunate position where I only coach a small select group of people here in London. My mornings aren't so early. I now have the opportunity to actually socialize with people during the week, and I have the opportunity to like get a decent lie-in, or like just get up at 7 a.m. Like now for me, getting up at 7 a.m. is a lie-in. That's the difference. And so at the moment, I am a bit of a hit the snooze kind of guy. And that's not because I don't have the drive to get up. It's just that my lifestyle at the moment doesn't take that I need to. It's all about what it is for your life. Like, what are you trying to do in the morning? Have you got to be at work for 9, and do you want to train beforehand? If you want to train beforehand, you know that you've got to be hitting the gym at like 6 or 6:30 or 7 o'clock in the morning. If I'm getting up that early, if I know I've got somewhere to be and I need to be getting there at a certain time, I will not be hitting that snooze button. I'll be getting up, I'll be boom, up, food, get dressed, brush my teeth, get out the door, done. However, at the moment, because my lifestyle is such, I'm actually able to hit the snooze button if I want, 10 minutes, then I'll lie in bed. Often at the moment, I'm answering emails, I'm replying to Instagram messages, I'm doing comments, I'm doing all this stuff that's kind of like phone-based admin in the mornings, because it's a nice place to be. I get to work from my bed, which is quite nice. So yeah, I think that overall, it's about what are you trying to achieve in the morning? Are you just kind of snoozing because you don't really want to get up, you don't have to get up? That's cool, like you don't need to. But you know, if you've got a thing that you need to be at, I'm 100% setting that alarm as late as possible so that I can have the most amount of snooze. Let's see what's going on here. Oh, it's a bit of a shame actually. I seem to have lost a lot of yesterday's questions. I know that we had a few coming in about training and nutrition, things like that. So we can jump straight into that. I can't remember who it was, but there was a question asking, like, where do I get my motivation from? Like, how do I continue to train all the time? And like, how does that affect you guys? Motivation's a really interesting thing. It's something that comes and goes. It's something that really it's not actually essential to hitting, you know, the ability to get up and go training. Like, definitely my motivation for training intensity goes up and down. Last year, for example, when I was training to get ready for the turf games, my motivation was super high. I had a goal, I had a time frame, I had people that I was going to be letting down if I didn't work hard. Like, I was put in a position where, you know, I just go. And that really helped me to kind of like push past that pain and like continue moving forward even when I was tired. Now I don't have that. Now I don't have the specific need to train for something. Like right now, what I'm training for is rehab on my ankle. That's like my primary focus at the moment. And then just general fitness. So like, I'm still working out, I'm still exercising, I'm still kind of training regularly. At the moment, I'm probably training like 3 times a week, and I'm not putting pressure on myself to do much more than that. No, because you can, the psychology of training is a really, really tough one, because we are, you know, what's the right amount to train? Like, how often should we be working out? And like, it really depends on your goal, guys. 3 times a week is a really kind of good amount to be training if you're a relatively sedentary individual and you're looking to just kind of tick over, and you know, you're not looking to try and make massive, quick gains. If you want to be making real short, sharp gains, then you need to be training more often than that. But you know, that's not the position I'm in. The motivation element comes from, do you have a specific goal? Do you have something you're really working hard to achieve? Or are you just trying to like kind of tick by? And that's absolutely fine. At the end of the day, my motivation has changed all across my life. I started training when I was 15, and that was because I was playing rugby. So from 15 to like 20, my focus, my motivation was just about being the best rugby player that I can. All I wanted to do, especially when I was like 17 and 18, 16, 17, 18, all I wanted to be was a professional rugby player. So all of my training, I was super motivated, I was super fit. I was fitter then than I am now. But then that changes. You know, your motivation is not going to be there forever. But what it does do is if you do something enough, it instills positive habits, and it instills your kind of, habits is the best way to talk about it. Now it's just a habit, it's just part of my life. I enjoy training, so I know that it's giving my body a benefit. I'm rewarding myself for being able to do this by training. You know, I know that the more I move, the better my body feels. And it's just like a constant thing. It's not that I have to train, it's just that I'm fortunate enough to be fit. I'm fortunate enough to be capable and injury-free relatively. I'm fortunate enough to be in a position in the world where I have access to a nice gym. Like, all of these things I'm really fortunate for, and so I train because I can. And I want to be able to run after my kids. I want to be able to like be 60 and just be able to like go hike up a mountain or something. All these kind of things are my motivation, but they're much more kind of long-term thinking these days instead of short-term, I want to hit 100 kilo bench press, or I want to be able to run a 5K in 20 minutes, or whatever it is. You know what I mean? So your motivation is going to vary, and that's completely normal. Don't ever think that because for some reason you're not absolutely motivated at this moment that you're a failure. Absolutely not the case. For people like me as trainers, we have times when our motivation levels drop and when our motivation levels go up. So it's completely normal. But what you can do is, even in those times when you're not feeling especially motivated, just try and feel it. It's like a habit. You know, you brush your teeth, it's a habit. You put your shoes on, it's a habit. Like going to the gym a couple times a week or doing some exercise a couple times a week it should be a habit as well. So yeah, I hope that one, that was cool. Got a question coming from Nadine Merryford. She said, what's your best advice for coping with the dreaded DOMS? Well, DOMS is a really tough thing because it's kind of an essential part of your training to a degree. There's different stages of DOMS. So if you're sore like a day or 2 days after training and it's kind of like a little bit uncomfortable, like at the moment my traps are a little bit sore. I did a workout yesterday with Alex Crockford. My glutes are a little bit sore because a couple of days ago I did my rehab, which you guys might have seen on the story. And so like I'm, a little bit sore. But if you're getting pain, like where you can't fully extend, for example, if you're getting issues with your muscles, they're really, really stiff, then that's another level. So the help with DOMS really is just preventing it in the first place. The main thing about DOMS is that you just don't want to be too aggressive with your training, because that's when you're going to get really bad DOMS. You get really bad DOMS when you've not been smart with your training, when you've just quickly overtrained something and not put enough thought into it. And generally that comes from overloading the muscle group. If you put too much load through one muscle group, then you're gonna get really sore. So I'd say that the best thing is just a nice periodized program. That's the key thing. You want a nice periodized training program so that you know that like each week it's like a steady increase. So you're kind of working in a nice linear fashion, or you've got phases of your training. You're not just kind of like jumping in. That's usually when you get the worst DOMS. It's when someone's like, oh, do you want to come do a workout with me? And you jump in to their session and it's completely different to what you'd normally do, and you're just not able to cope. It's just far too much volume. Or someone says like, oh, do you want to do this thing? And it's just like, oh yeah, I feel like I should because I'm a man. And so you just, you go over the top, you get competitive. We all get competitive, it's completely normal. So yeah, definitely just preventing DOMs is a better idea than trying to reduce them once you've got. If you do have them, I mean, there's just getting adequate protein, getting adequate water and adequate salt. They're the easiest things. Relaxing the muscle by having a hot bath, and then just taking time. If you've got really bad DOMs to the point where you can't, like, say for example, you did a really big arm session, your biceps are super tight, your forearms are super tight, don't force them to extend. Your muscles will relax over time. If you're super stiff, you don't need to force those muscles prematurely to elongate. You can just give them time. If you give your muscles time over a few days, they will relax and they'll pretty much go back to where they were beforehand. If after like 4 or 5 days you're still stiff, just get a nice little mobility session, nice little bit of stretching, and you'll be sweet. So definitely, like, that's probably my best advice when it comes to DOMs. If you guys have any questions as you're watching this, please feel free to just type them into the comment section. We can go through them. It's a bit of a shame actually, because a lot of the questions you guys fired in, they've somehow disappeared. This is only the second time I've done a live Q&A, and so it is a little bit of a trial and error. And it would appear that unfortunately a lot of the questions that you guys put in on the story last night have disappeared, which is a bit of a shame. I'm a bit annoyed about that. One thing that I would actually really like to talk to you guys about is it's a male thing. Okay, so I was having a discussion with a friend who's been going through some tough times, and I noticed the change in this individual, and you know, I've been wanting to have a discussion with them, and I finally got the opportunity to kind of sit down and hear what's been going on. And it's interesting because, like, as men, what we do is when we're feeling when we're feeling like vulnerable or weak, or when there's something that's not going quite right, we have this tendency to like shut down or act out. I know for a fact when I was a kid and like my parents were getting divorced, I was a fucking angry kid. Like, there's no getting around it. You know, I went to anger management when I was like a young teenager. I think I was like 10 to 12 to 13, something like that. I went to anger management because I was getting into fights at school. I was literally just the most annoying child because I was having these problems at home and I didn't know how to deal with it, and I would act out. You know, my frustration, my internal difficulties, I didn't know how to process them, and I would just act out. And as men, we tend to do that. Now, so instead of acting out, what I do is I'll internalize it and I'll kind of shut down and run away from the problem effectively. And that is also not very beneficial, because instead of me understanding what it is the problem that I've got, I'm just like putting it in a box and going, all right, cool, this is there. Well, what should I do with this now? Just forget about it. I'll put it over here, put it on the side, and I'll forget about it. Actually, doesn't really help. So I saw that my friend was having you know, a few changes in personality, and there was some issues that were going on, and I tried to have a couple of conversations which didn't work out, because as men we don't want to admit that there's a problem. We don't want to admit that we're feeling vulnerable. We don't want to admit that we're feeling like weak, or we don't want to admit that we're not feeling 100% in control, especially if you're like an outgoing alpha male type personality. This can be even more potentially difficult for individuals like that to do. But finally I got an opportunity to ask some questions, and it was so interesting because just by asking questions, it gave my friend the opportunity to let this out, you know, to be in a safe environment and to kind of let go of the things that have been eating them up inside. And it was interesting to see the shift in body language. It was interesting to see the shift in the way that they talked, because they went from this like rigid individual that's like clearly guarding something. And then once that come down, you could see the change, and they became much more open and friendly. And like, you could see that I wasn't even giving advice. It was just a case of allowing them to talk. And often that is all that we need to do. I found that with the things that I go through, the things that I've talked to friends about, often it's just a case of giving someone an opportunity to talk and giving them a safe space to talk in, because that's what often helps us the most. I've found is that just allowing someone the opportunity to discuss what it is that's going on in their head, in their heart, they process it a lot better, and then they can understand it, and then they can move forward from it. So that was, I hope, really beneficial for them, and it's something that I found that works really well for me, and hopefully that might work really well for you guys. So, you know, if you do have something, if you're going through a problem, if you have an issue at work, if you've got a relationship problem, if you've got your own internal battles, if you're not feeling great about yourself, like, feel free to just, hopefully you've got a friend that you can talk to, hopefully your friend notices that you've got something going on, and just allow yourself the opportunity to get that out. Just talk to someone. I was actually at an event earlier today. The event earlier today was, it was a yoga event for guys. The whole purpose of this event was to raise awareness for male suicide. And I'm going to be posting a little video tomorrow, so you'll be able to see it. I'll actually post it after this. But basically, the event was for a bunch of guys to come together and do yoga to raise awareness that men are unfortunately a much higher risk of committing suicide than women. And from what I've read, generally the reason is that guys don't want to talk about stuff. We like have issues and we just kind of keep it to ourselves. We don't really want to like open the door. So I think that it's a massive cultural issue that we've got, that guys don't want to share. They don't want to appear vulnerable, they want to appear weak. I actually read earlier today, listened to a podcast, Brene Brown basically said that you can't show courage without vulnerability. I don't really understand that for a while. I rewinded it and came back to the start, and I was like, okay, let's play this again, let's understand what she's saying. You can't have courage without vulnerability. I was like, I don't get it. And then Brene basically went on to explain that courage is only courage if there's a risk. It's only courage if there's a risk. Because if there's no risk, it's not really a courageous act, is it? You've not really done anything courageous, you've just done something. If there's no risk of failure, if you're not in a vulnerable position, it's not courageous. But yet, in our society, we demonize guys that are vulnerable. We've got to appear strong all the time, to the point of like our own detriment. So I thought that was quite interesting. You know, you've got to be courageous, and often the biggest courage can be asking for help. Can be speaking to somebody, can be sharing something, can be talking to somebody. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, something I wanted to share with you guys. What did Abigail? Abigail just mentioned, unfortunately, I'm just reading this in advance, unfortunately one of my best friends has lost 4 friends this year to suicide. All supposedly successful and happy, so anything to help this is an incredible cause, so important. Yeah, well, let's just try and raise some awareness. Effectively, what I'm trying to do here, guys, I just want to give you guys an open forum. Like I mentioned, it's not something that I don't want to be drilling down on the extremes potentially, but like kind of allowing you and the guys watching this the feeling of openness that you can say what's on your mind. You know, I share my my worries and my insecurities with you guys and give you an opportunity to do that. So that's what this is for. Okay guys, so now unfortunately a lot of the kind of, like I mentioned earlier, a lot of the questions that were on here have disappeared, so I don't actually have them to go through, but we've gone through quite a lot of stuff. I've been chewing your ear off for half an hour already, So I think that I'm probably going to wrap things up there. Now remember that if you do ever want to get your questions in, hopefully it'll work better next time. The day before this goes live, I will put up a little question box on my story. You guys can put your questions in there and we can get them answered live on here. And if you guys are watching on YouTube or listening on the podcast, feel free to follow me at david.birtwistle on Instagram. Then you can get your questions sent in as well. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Thanks so much for your attention. I appreciate every single one of you that has given me your time this evening. Thank you very much, guys. I'll see you all real soon. Have an amazing evening. Bye.